The auction screen above my head flashed my name and my price, and my hands were still shaking from the shift I had just finished. I am Callum Bryce, dock worker, debt holder, and apparently, today, an item for sale. I did not choose this. Nobody on this station chooses it. You fall behind on your transport fees, your housing fees, your air tax, and the station authority puts your contract up for bid. Aliens walk through the market deck like they are picking fruit, and humans stand on a raised platform while translators whisper numbers into buyers' ears. I had told myself I would never end up here. Yet here I was, barefoot on cold metal, waiting for someone to decide what my life was worth. Then she walked in, and the whole hall went quiet. She was tall, with skin like pale blue glass, and eyes that seemed to hold storms behind them. She moved like she had never once doubted herself. Every guard in the room straightened when she passed, which told me she was not just wealthy, she was powerful. She stopped in front of my platform and looked at me the way you look at something you already decided to take home. Then she spoke, and the translator in my ear caught up a second later. I would like to purchase this one, as a husband. The room laughed. Not politely either. Loud, ugly laughter. The kind that makes your skin burn. A husband contract was not a labor contract. It was permanent. It bound you to a person, not a job, and everyone knew what that usually meant for a human on this side of space. It meant disappearing. I opened my mouth to protest, but the station broker was already grinning and typing numbers into his pad, because her offer was not just enough to clear my debt. It was enough to clear it 100 times over. I looked at her and said the only thing that felt true in that moment. No. The whole hall went silent again, this time in shock. Nobody refuses a husband offer that large. Not on this station, not from her people, the Varel, who owned half the trade routes in this sector and rarely spoke to humans at all, let alone bought one. She tilted her head at me, studying my face like I was a puzzle she had not expected. You refuse. Yes, I said. I want to know why. Nobody pays that much for a husband unless there is something they are not telling me. The broker hissed at me to be quiet, afraid I would insult her and lose the sale. But she raised one hand, and the whole room obeyed the silence in it. Then find out, she said. Come speak with me privately, and if you still refuse afterward, I will withdraw my offer, and no harm will come to you. I do not know why I believed her. Maybe it was the way she said it, calm and certain, like lying was beneath her. Maybe I was just tired of a life where I never got to ask questions. Either way, I stepped down from that platform and followed her out of the market hall, past guards who watched me like I had lost my mind. Her name was Isolde Vaughn, and she led me to a private transport pod that smelled like something clean and unfamiliar, like rain on metal. She sat across from me, hands folded, and for a long moment she said nothing at all. You are wondering if I intend to hurt you, she finally said. The thought crossed my mind. Yes. She almost smiled. It is a fair thought. Humans who sign husband contracts with outside species rarely return to speak of it. Most assume the worst. Slavery, experiments, some darker purpose. Is that why you want me? I asked. Am I an experiment? No, she said, and something in her voice cracked just slightly, like a wall giving way. You are not an experiment. You are a possibility. She reached into a compartment and pulled out a small data disk, sliding it across the table toward me. I picked it up, unsure what to do with it, until she tapped a panel on the wall and a screen lit up above us. What I am about to show you is not public knowledge, she said. If word spreads, my family could lose everything, and so could I. The screen filled with images. Varel cities, beautiful beyond anything I had ever seen, towers of light rising into clean skies. Then the images changed. Empty nurseries, rows of pods with no children in them, graphs sloping downward, year after year. We are dying, she said quietly. Not from disease. Not from war. From something worse. I did not understand. She explained, slowly, choosing her words like they cost her something. Her people had built a civilization so advanced, so comfortable, that struggle had been engineered out of their lives centuries ago. No hardship, no risk, no failure. Machines did their labor, Predictive systems solved their problems before they arose. For a while, it had seemed like paradise. But something inside them had gone quiet along with it. Their emotional bonds had grown thin. Their birth rates had collapsed, not from any illness of the body, but from something deeper, an inability to form the kind of connection required to build a family, to want one, to fight for one. Their healers called it the fading. Their scientists had no cure. Humans are different, she said, looking at me directly now. You fight for each other even when it costs you everything. You love in a way that survives loss, survives pain, survives fear. Our scholars believe that bonding with a human partner, truly bonding, not simply contracting labor, may be the only way to restore what my people have lost. It has happened before, quietly, in a few unions nobody speaks of. Those unions produced something my healers have not seen in generations. Children. Real, viable children, born from a connection strong enough to still hold meaning. I sat back, stunned into silence. That is why the price was so high, she continued. Not because I wanted a servant, or a curiosity, or a trophy. Because I have watched you for 3 months, Callum Bryce, without you ever knowing it. I watched you carry an injured coworker across the docking bay when the automated medics were too slow. I watched you give up your ration credits so a stranger's child would not go hungry during the supply shortage. I did not choose you because you are useful. I chose you because you are exactly the kind of person my people used to be, and are not anymore. For a moment I could not speak. Everything I thought I understood about this deal had been wrong. You could have told me this in the market hall, I said finally. And risk every buyer in that room learning our secret, she answered. If other species learned how desperate the Varel truly are, we would become targets, not partners. My family sent me to find someone quietly, carefully, someone who would ask questions instead of simply taking the money and walking away without ever wondering why. I looked at the pictures still glowing on the screen, the empty nurseries, the failing numbers, and I felt something shift inside me. This was not a woman buying a pet. This was a person carrying the weight of an entire civilization's quiet extinction, and she had walked into a market hall full of laughing strangers because she had run out of other options. What happens to the humans who accept? I asked. The ones who signed before me. They are protected, she said, given full status within Varel society. Not property, not livestock. Partners. Some have even returned to visit Earth, wealthy beyond anything they left behind. Though most choose to stay, because for the first time they are treated as something precious, rather than disposable. And if it does not work? I asked. If there is no bond, no children, nothing your healers are hoping for, then you live a full life at my side regardless, she said, without hesitation. This was never only about children, Callum. It is about remembering what it feels like to want someone enough to fight for them. I have not felt that in my entire life, not once. Until I stood on that platform and watched you say no to more money than most humans see in a lifetime. Something about the honesty in her voice undid the last of my suspicion. I had spent my whole life being told humanity was the rough, unwanted cousin of the galaxy, tolerated for our labor and nothing else. And here was a woman from one of the wealthiest, most advanced species in known space, telling me that the very things that made humans seem primitive to everyone else were the things her people were desperate to have back. I thought about my debt, still sitting on that market screen. I thought about the laughter in that hall. I thought about every human I had ever seen sold off like cargo, and how none of them had ever been given a reason, a real reason, a truth worth hearing. I am not agreeing because of the money, I told her. I want that understood. I know, she said. That is exactly why I am still asking. I looked at her for a long moment, at the storm behind her eyes, at the exhaustion of someone who had been carrying a secret too heavy for one person to hold alone. And I thought about what it would mean to be wanted, truly wanted, not for my strength or my labor, but for the stubborn, fragile, human heart inside my chest. All right, I said, let us find out together. Something in her expression broke open then, relief and disbelief, and something warmer underneath it all. An emotion I suspected her people had not felt freely in a very long time. As the transport pod rose away from the station, leaving the market hall and its laughing crowd far behind, I understood something I never expected to learn on the worst day of my life. Humanity was not the lesser species everyone assumed. We were not bought because we were weak, or disposable, or easily replaced. We were bought because somewhere out among the stars, an entire civilization had built everything except the one thing that actually mattered, and they had finally figured out that we, stubborn, loud, endlessly stubborn humans, were the only ones who still remembered how to hold on to it.